This is Stacy McKibben with the Master Communicator podcast, where CEOs, senior leaders, and C-suite executives share their advice. It's 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best leaders know how to share their ideas concisely and quickly. Let's jump right in. Question number 1. In a few sentences, tell me who you are and what you do.
My name is Chris Adair. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Development for Collective Financial Group. I live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa with my wife and 2 children and our ornery German Shepherd puppy, Coda. Really what I do at CFG is oversee day-to-day operations and really the oversight of organizational growth, work closely with our ownership, and really it's continually trying to bring valuable resources to our advisor force, our field force, to help them grow their practices as independent financial professionals.
That's amazing. How long have you been doing that?
I've actually been with CFG for just under 4 years. My entire career has actually been in the insurance and financial services industry, though, since actually I started in the field when I was still in college.
Oh, wow. So you're new to this whole gig, huh? Not teasing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll be very excited to hear some of your insights today. Question 2 for you. What's the best thing about leading people from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the best thing about leading people is really, seeing a vision that you have or your team has come to fruition through guidance, through collaboration, and through teamwork. I think, an example comes to mind, and maybe it's recency bias, but I recently oversaw the rebranding effort, a new logo and a rebrand refresh for Collective Financial Group. And it was really, honestly, it was leveraging the talents of multiple individuals. And, it was really, their expertise was very individual, right? And it was, they were a lot better at what they did than what I could ever come up with. I kind of joked that if I would have done this new logo, it would have looked like something my 6-year-old daughter would have done, right? But, to kind of steal a line from my current boss, we've heard the saying, we want to make sure that we have the right people on the bus. And he goes a little bit further with that and says, we want to make sure that we have the right people in the right seat on the bus. And so really my hopes in doing, and especially with this project, is really just steering that bus in the right direction and getting us to the final destination.
That's so exciting too, as you think about really being able to put people in their natural spaces where they get to come alive and, feel really valuable, right? Because they're doing something that they are good at and they enjoy. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that's a thing to hone in on too, is really at the end of the day, the win, the victory in a final product, and whatever the project is, or whatever, whatever you're working on, is with the team that's involved. It's not with me. It's not with our ownership group. It is really with the individuals, and that goes down to our what's most important in our company is our independent financial producers. It's all about them and their victories, and we win because of that.
Well, that's a great segue actually into my next question, because it's interesting. I often hear from other leaders that business would be great if it weren't for the people part, right? That whole pesky people part. I'm curious, what are your thoughts about that?
To be honest, Stacy, when I was making some notes, and I had to read this one 2 or 3 times because it just doesn't resonate with me. And maybe that's just because, we're in a people business. If it weren't for our producers' clients, they wouldn't have the ability to have a successful practice. And if it weren't for our financial professionals that associate themselves with Collective Financial Group, there would be no Collective Financial Group, right? And so I think, we have an internal sales desk and that works closely with our producers, and I always tell them, there are going to be issues. There are going to be days when people are ticked off, and they might take that out on you, but they're not mad at you. They're mad at the situation, right? And so, it's one of those things where this, especially where we are, as I said before, this is a people business, and that's, that's where we focus on. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, I love going to work and surrounding myself with the people that we do. And with that, honestly, with that being said, personally and professionally, I fully feel that you control to a certain extent who you surround yourself with, especially personally as well. You know, I had an old boss when I first started in the insurance industry. You know, he was kind of old school and grizzly, and he said, you know, don't go to bars with losers. And it was kind of a joke, but, you know, basically what he was saying is surround yourself with successful people and positive people, and that will make your life a lot better in the long run.
That leads me again, you're good at these segues, Chris. So like that leads me perfectly to question number 4, which is, what piece of advice about communication would you give to other leaders?
Yeah, I think sometimes maybe this is overthought or underdone, if you will, you know, kind of both sides of the spectrum. To me, it's really, you know, having constant, consistent, and accurate communication, I think, is key. Constant to me doesn't mean unnecessary, though. You know, we're not just, you know, we don't have meetings just to have meetings. You know, we're not going to send an email out just to send an email. We get enough emails, and I think going through this quarantine deal, we all know it seems like our emails have just, you know, quadrupled or more. Sure. But with that being said, you know, we have to, and the way that we see it and I see it is that we have to get consistent and constant information out to the individuals that are associated with our firm. I think timeliness of it as well. And I talked about, you know, with what we're going through in quarantine, which not only leads to ridiculous hair and a beard that I typically don't ever have, but, you know, timeliness of, there are times when, you know, you may want to come up with something that you wouldn't normally do. An example of that is a peer-to-peer series that we're doing within our company right now. That is our individuals within our firm, our advisors and producers, sharing ideas and information with each other every Friday at 10 a.m. That's something we wouldn't typically do because, one, our folks are trying to get stuff done and wrap up the week. But, you know, the idea with that, and it's been extremely successful, is that is an example of timely communication and idea sharing that people have time for right now. And I think it's led to, again, there will be, you know, successes that we see come to fruition from these ideas sharing. The other one that I mentioned was consistency. And I think if you communicate with your team, or you communicate to an organization on a very sporadic level, then I think it can come as insincere or ineffective. You know, again, making sure the information, it needs to be shared, but I think that you can do that in a few ways. Consistent doesn't necessarily mean unexpected. And if you're sporadically sharing unexpected, you know, things that might come up, or things that might take people aback, if it is serious, they're going to react to it more adversely than they would if, okay, I'm used to our leadership team, you know, sharing information, getting ahead of things on a consistent basis, so that you can be proactive and forthcoming and have it not be a surprise, if you will. We try and keep our financial professionals in the loop with things that we're working on behind the scenes at CFG. And then the final one that I mentioned was accuracy. To me, there's no need to sugarcoat. There's no need to lie, you know, that type of thing. I think, you know, if you say one thing and you do another, then that really reflects poorly upon you and upon your organization. You know, if you can't share the information right now, just say, I can't share the information right now. You know, people appreciate that. You know, we have people that are running a business, they get it. And so I think that accuracy, you know, and the lack of a smokescreen or a lack of vagueness is appreciated, so that when you do share information, that it is taken seriously, and it's appreciated. And then I think the last thing is to be sincere and to be passionate. You know, I get extremely excited. Sometimes I have to settle myself down when I'm talking to our group about some of the exciting things we have going on, or some of our wins that our group has achieved through partnership with all of our wonderful producers. And you kind of I almost have to tone it down a notch because I get so excited about it. And so I'd say, if you're passionate about what you're doing in the field that you're in, then your communication will come off as sincere. And I think that that's very important.
So much great stuff there. I mean, as far as how-tos and just, a little bit more than just a couple of ideas, I appreciate, unpacking that a bit more for us. What other successful business leaders like yourself should be on the show? What other community leaders or people like yourself who are out there doing it every day, making a difference that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, one person that I thought of is actually a good friend of mine, but whether he was a good friend of mine or an enemy, I'd still recommend him being on, and that's Brad Axtell. He's a sales leader with USI Insurance Services, and he's someone that has really had an impactful career at what we'd say a younger, less experienced age. He's the same age as me. We went to school together, and he's someone who really has a lot of great, insightful information as a leader of an organization, and does really well in community involvement in that. And so that would be someone that I would recommend.
Awesome, thank you. All right,
yeah.
Magic question number 6 for you. Tell us about your favorite boss or teacher. Who's really influenced you?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a different spin on this, and I'll do my best to keep it as short as possible. I promise, Stacy.
You're good.
And so perfect. I would say there'd be 3 individuals that I would really hone in on. And the first is my high school baseball coach, Steve Hansen. He was an extremely impactful person on me, and just, things that he taught us. He was kind of a hard guy. There were some guys that didn't like him because he was, it was the old, if you're 10 minutes early, you're 5 minutes late mentality. But there are things like that I've carried through my entire life and still do. I coach my son's youth baseball team, and a lot of the things that we do, I carry over to my coaching. I'm not quite as harsh on the 10-year-olds as he was on us high school guys. But that bred success. We were state champions my senior year, and it was more than that though. It was, his goal was to build young men. So I won't spend as much time on the other 2, but the other would be the individual that brought me into the insurance industry when I was still in college, and that's Devin DeGator. He was my mentor in the business. And again, just setting a foundation of hard work, knowledge would be the 2 biggest things that I got from him. And my current boss, Tim Stroner. He is the epitome of a servant leader who focuses on others' individual successes, even though he has a huge impact on the success of our organization. So I would say those would be the main 3.
That's awesome. So blessed to have so much, around you, and so much, opportunity to grow and develop with some very powerful people. That's great. Thank you so much for being on the show, Chris. This has been amazing. How can people find you if they want to reach out and say hi or just learn more about what you do?
Yeah, a couple of ways. Our website is cfgpro.com. That's our company's website, and obviously you can reach me through there, or my LinkedIn page would probably be the best from a professional standpoint, and that's just Chris Adair on LinkedIn. So those would probably be the best 2.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure. And this is Stacy McKibben with the Master Communicator Podcast. For more ideas and insights, please do go check us out at www.concilioteam.com. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care.